We should be at all around about 0200 hours.
Now be careful, R2.
Hey everybody, it's Joe from the Jodocast, and we are doing a review today. It's not really a mystery that I love Star Wars, I love games, I love Star Wars games.
I love democracy. I love the Republic.
But there's a special place in my heart for games that exist within the Star Wars universe. I just love in-universe Star Wars games. They're fascinating to me, mostly because they're, usually never designed. They're just there. Today we're looking at one in-universe Star Wars game in particular, and one that you can buy, and it happens to be my favorite in-universe Star Wars game. We're talking about Dejarik, or Dejarik, or Dejarik. I call it Dejarik. I don't know what the right pronunciation is. I call it Dejarik. Let me know if I'm wrong and there's actually an official pronunciation. Some things in Star Wars have an official pronunciation. A lot of things don't. Also, you could just call it Hollow Chess. And I got my hands on the version of Dejarik that they sell at Galaxy's Edge. I haven't been to Galaxy's Edge, but I needed to have this as soon as they announced it. And a friend of mine went, and I said, "You buy me this, or we're not friends anymore." So we're going to take a close look at this. We're going to look at the components, the kind of weird design behind it, and we'll see how it is as a game and how it compares to other versions of this game that they've released in the past. Well, they really haven't, but we'll compare it to different versions of this and see how it stacks up against other playable versions that have existed in video games, and we'll compare the game to what we see on screen in the films and the TV shows, and see what kind of experience are you getting when you buy this. That's what we want to know. Is this worth your money? If you've already spent a whole bunch of money going to Galaxy's Edge, or if you're lucky like me and had a friend who would pick it up for you if you pay them back, because it's only $50, which is honestly a lot cheaper than I'd expect a theme park item of this quality to be. Let's start by looking at the components. The thing that's going to be sitting on your coffee table that makes everyone go, "Ooh, what's this?" Like all board games, components are a huge part of what makes them enjoyable. So where does this one stand? The board itself is actually really cool and made out of real wood, although the center circle drives me nuts. Why is it that way? I'll get more to that later when I talk about the rules and the design and things like that. But the center, why? The top comes off, and it's actually got a little checkerboard underneath, and it comes with some checkers. So if you got kids who like to play checkers, or if you like to play checkers, that's cool, because I've got a feeling you're not going to be playing the actual game that much. The figures themselves aren't made out of wood. The figures are just plastic, but they're sculpted to kind of look like they were handmade out of wood. There's a few mold lines here and there, and they're not perfect, but I think they look really nice, and I really like the stylized nature of the pieces. They really kind of make you feel like you're playing with a piece of Star Wars lore, like really like something that came out of the universe, which I guess is kind of what they're going for at the theme park. And it's something, maybe like something somebody handcrafted and passed down from ship captain to ship captain, or something like that. I don't know. They're neat. They look cool. They're stylized. They're not realistic. But it feels like it has a history. And this is something that as soon as I saw them playing with a physical wooden version in Rogue One, I needed this in my life. Just for fun and comparison, let's look at these figures next to their counterparts from the old Wizards of the Coast Star Wars miniatures game. There weren't Dejarik rules in this old miniatures game. These were actually like creatures themselves that would fight other characters, but let's just compare the miniatures. Components, solid. I like them. It's good. I wouldn't have expected wooden miniatures, and what we have is good. I really like the design. Speaking of design, let's look at the design background of this game, because that's where this game gets interesting as a game. The thing about the design is this game was designed backwards. Usually you have an idea for mechanics or a theme, and you iterate and you iterate and you test and you come up with the final product, and usually the components of your game shift and change along the whole design journey. This game, well, the visual geniuses working on Star Wars, they just needed a cool set piece. George probably said, we need a space board game. So they made a cool game that looked really cool and iconic, obviously, because I'm still crazy about it. But obviously they weren't game designers, they were visual effects artists, and they didn't need a game that could actually be played, they just need something that looked cool. And so whoever got this assignment to make a product for Galaxy's Edge, they had to work backwards. They got, as a game designer, it must be maybe fun to have these kind of restrictions, or maybe frustrating, I don't know. Because you get, here's the finished product, here's the components, this is what you have to work with, now design rules around this backwards. There's some really crazy design constraints, because you got a circular board, you got these pieces, do they all do different things, do they all do the same things, I don't know. Like, that sounds like a really tough design challenge to work backwards like that without being able to change the components. Previous versions of this game that have come out have had more wiggle room than this game, because this is the first official physical version of this game, as far as I know. Maybe there was an old one. The last official version of this game is actually in this Jedi Challenges AR headset thing. You can like play in the table pops up in front of your eyes and you can move around. And that version has more wiggle room because it's computerized. There's a computer running things, so all the characters have different moves and health and damage and special abilities, like, ooh, I regen, or ooh, I have a ranged attack, things like that. It's much more video gamey. My impression is that the people who designed this for Galaxy's Edge wanted something much more akin to chess, something that has very little overhead, no dice, even though we see them using dice in Rogue One. This game has no dice, there's no like computing needed. It's just straight up move and capture things like chess. And obviously chess has endured for a long time. Can this game stand up to it? I don't think so. So let's look at how to play. I'm going to do a full how to play video, which will be linked in the description. But we'll just do a brief overview so you get an idea of what's going on. I'll break it down much more detail in my how to play video. You have two players. There's a red player and a blue player. The pieces are marked. The color bases are red and blue. The creatures are broken up into 4 classes. Much like chess has different, there's the queen, the bishop, the knight, the rook. This game has the brute, the predator, the guardian, and the scout. Each team has one of each, and they're identical. So, for example, the Mantilian Savrip and the Kintan Strider are both brutes. Functionally, mechanically, gameplay-wise, these are identical pieces. That's part of where this game gets confusing, because all of these pieces are very different and very unique, but essentially there's only 4 types of pieces. The first hurdle to get over is recognizing which piece is which class. The next hurdle is remembering which class can do what. There is a handy reference sheet to help you sort it out, which you're going to be looking at constantly as you play. And I haven't gotten to the point, but maybe if you play a lot, eventually you'll be able to just do it instinctively like chess. But I feel like you're going to give up on the game before you get to that point. The game plays like chess, and you do a turn, I do a turn, you do a turn. Each class has a unique way to move and a separate unique way to attack, which is the biggest problem I have with this game. Maybe it's better the way it is, but it's really hard to get your mind around it as someone who's used to playing chess and other games where moving and attacking is the same thing. This game, you can do a move or you can do an attack. They're different things, and you can only do one of them on your turn. And each creature has a different space that it attacks than the one it moves into. So you've got to get your head around the 4 creatures and how they move, and then you got to get your head around the 4 creatures and how they attack. But for example, the Predator attacks the way the Guardian moves, and the Guardian moves the way the Predator attacks. And the Predator, it's all And you got to get your head around it, and it's weird because you're like, okay, move here. Oh wait, but I can't attack here. It's lots of there's only 4 classes. It's a lot to get your head around. In addition to visually recognizing which creature is which class, it's a lot of going, what? And the rules are not well written. You can read the rule book and be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then little things start popping up. For example, the Predator. It says 2 tiles to the left or 2 tiles to the right. This piece can hop over other pieces. Period. 1 tile forward or backward. Okay, the sentence that says this piece can hop over other pieces implies that normally you can't move through other pieces. But there's nothing that says you can't move through other pieces. Just this sentence that says this piece can hop over other pieces, which implies a rule that's never stated. The attack rules for the Predator doesn't have the same wording about hopping. So can you still hop over pieces when you're attacking with this piece? The game goes until one player has captured all of their opponent's pieces, or if one player only has 1 piece left. If 3 rounds go by without them capturing somebody, they lose. Makes it so if you've got 1 piece left, you can't just run and stall the game. But also, if your opponent only has 1 piece left, then you can run, and it's almost guaranteed, I think, that you'll win if you get your opponent down to 1 piece. So I mentioned earlier that the center of the board drives me nuts. When I first saw this pretty board, I assume the designers added 4 spaces in the center of the board. Because of the aforementioned design restraints, I thought, okay, maybe they took some liberties and added 4 new spaces to make their game more balanced and playable. Because on every other version of this board we've ever seen, the center space is just 1 big white circle, not 4 individual spaces.
I guess I'll have to destroy that little guy. Somehow I never get bored with winning.
The rules say you can't move in here or through here. This is functionally a space nobody's allowed to touch. So there's no reason it needs to be 4. It should just be, like in everything we've ever seen, 1 empty space. And I don't know why it looks like that. Maybe it was something in the manufacturing process. It was easier and cheaper to print them like that. But for a place so concerned about authenticity, it drives me weird that the Galaxy's Edge version would look like that. So the game is gorgeous. You know how it plays. If you need more info, check out my how to play video, because I'll go into detail about how the game plays. But is it fun? Because chess isn't really fun, is it? Like, not in the way other board games are fun. There aren't any moments where you laugh or stand up and go, yes! There's no tense moments in chess. Not in the same way that other board games strive to, design dramatic tension and relief and laughing with your friends. Chess is cool, but I don't think it's, like, fun in the same way that the games I want to be playing are fun. So, aside from the obvious differences, the one huge difference between Dejarik and chess is how the board shape directs the flow of play. In chess, there's always forward momentum. With the pawns moving forward and only forward, your pieces are constantly being nudged towards conflict. In Dejarik, with the circular board, it's possible, if both players don't goof up, to just dance around your opponent without engaging indefinitely. If you both are acutely aware of where every piece can move and attack, you should never move your piece into a space where it can be attacked, and therefore nothing will ever happen. The movement and attack for each class being separate things really seems to be the game's biggest sticking point for me, because you're used to how chess works. The move is the attack. In this, there's separate things that require kind of double the thinking power for each piece on the board. Where can I move my guys? Where can they attack? And there's a lot of thinking here, and I'd love to see 2 people who have been playing this game for 10 years and how they play against each other. Or maybe those 2 players would be like what I said earlier, where nothing will ever happen because they know exactly where they shouldn't put their pieces, so they don't ever get attacked. The one interesting thing to me that you couldn't ever do in chess, not if a piece attacks and they move into that space, and then if there's another piece eligible to an attack, you can keep chaining it together, which is kind of neat, because if you can set up like a chain attack, that's, you know, pretty much game over. So maybe it's kind of cool, like it's just like you're dancing your pieces around until one person decides to make a move, and then all of a sudden it's over in like 2 turns. In Dejarik, your piece has specific rules for how it can move and separate rules for how it can attack. And the fact that you can only do one on your turn really just sort of makes it a puzzle of, okay, which piece am I allowed to move without putting it in danger? And how can I set up an attack, but your opponent's also seeing where all the safe spaces are for their pieces, so no one gets attacked until someone screws up or starts feeling clever and baiting someone with a sacrificial piece. But it's hard, you know, sacrificing pieces is a big thing in chess. In this game, when you only have 4 pieces, if you sacrifice one of your pieces, you've given up 25% of your available units, and then that's not an easy choice to make. So I think the divorce of the movement and the attack rules make it really hard to get your head around. It might be good for the game overall, but I haven't had fun at this game. It's not fun. Which, like I said, chess isn't fun. But it serves this, you know, strategic outlet for people. So maybe this game is as fun as chess. Maybe if you really like chess, you really like having another strategy game. That's not why I bought this game. That's not why you would buy this game. You bought it, not only you are a tabletop enthusiast with your big shelf full of board games, you're a Star Wars fan. And this product is the perfect marriage between those two loves. And damn if it isn't gorgeous and lovely to just have sitting there on your coffee table or whatever, and you look at it and you go, Star Wars. And there's nothing stopping you trying to simulate the computerized rules from the Jedi Challenges game with some pencils and paper if you want. Because those, I'm pretty sure if you go to Wikipedia page for Dejarik, it lists out the stats in the movement rules for each individual piece. Because like I said, in that version, they all have different health values and damage. Or you could try and come up with your own rules that are better. Like I said, in Rogue One, we see them rolling dice. And this game doesn't have any dice. The version in the Jedi Challenges doesn't have anything that's randomized. So obviously, like every in-universe Star Wars game, there's a million different versions that obviously exist somewhere that we don't have rules for. So make up your own rules. Figure out why they're rolling dice in Rogue One. What sort of elements are being randomized here? And then tell me, because I want more ways to play this game that don't bore me or make me wish I was playing something else as much. Should you buy this? Does it call to you like it called it? I love Dejarik so much. It's just such a cool, iconic thing, and to have like a real physical, fancy version of this, official version, I am really happy to have this, and I think it's really neat that it's a thing you can buy, and I think it's fascinating to try and figure out the design decisions on designing a game with such tight constraints. Too bad it didn't turn out to be really that much fun, but maybe if you bash your head against it long enough, you'll find something interesting there. But like I said, it's a really cool piece to have. It's definitely something you need in your collection if you're a board gamer, but you'd also have to, you know, plan a vacation to Florida or California. And
who's got that kind of money?
Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, just hit the little like button. I don't care if you subscribe. It'd be cool, not gonna lie. But I, like you, don't like it when people say those things at the end of videos, which is ironic because I'm kind of saying that in a reverse psychology type way, and I don't know how to get myself out of this. So maybe don't subscribe. That'll show me for running my video out like this. No.